May we begin? Please. Hello, my name is Brayden Smith.
I'm Amanda Russell.
I'm Esme Jimenez.
I'm Henry Leclerc, and we're presenting
Cold Case!
The debate of reopening the Medgar assassination case.
What you just witnessed was the assassination of civil rights activist Medgar Evers.
Medgar Evers was a leading member of the NAACP in Mississippi.
You are about to see the events that followed this murder.
some of the following may offend you. For example, the N-word will be used in direct quotes.
But we refuse to paint hatred and racism as any less than it is, and for this reason, our quotes will remain uncensored.
Following the murder, white supremacist Byron Beckwith was arrested and put into custody as the #1 suspect.
All rise.
Bring in the accused, Mr. Byron Della Beckwith. Mr. Beckwith, how do you plead?
Innocent?
Mrs. Evers, you may approach the bench.
My husband was shot down in cold blood. All evidence points to Mr. Beckwith. You've matched the gun to him, and you've heard witnesses defend on my behalf. All Mr. Beckwith has on his side are 2 witnesses that claim to have seen him elsewhere, despite the fact that they are old friends of his.
I got off these charges thanks to our beautiful country's justice system. The trial ended in a mistrial, with the jury unable to reach a consensus. So they tried me again. Same results.
And for 25 years, as a consequence of the failure of our justice system, a guilty man walked free for the most horrendous crime. But the debate over the death of Medgar Evers wasn't over. On October 1st, 1989, Bobby DeLauder, a district attorney, was reading the Clarion Ledger newspaper of Jackson, Mississippi, when he came across the article, "State Checked Possible Jurors in Evers Slaying" by Jerry Mitchell. This sparked an interest with DeLauder, so he and his partner, Ed Peters, met with Medgar Evers' widow, Merle, about the possibility of reopening the debate.
Mr. Peters, your letter mentioned having already begun investigating any possible tampering of the 2 original cases. What have you found in that respect?
Mrs. Evers, there is no case. We don't have any physical evidence of 1964 trials. The only file we have was Bobby got here, the Jackson Police Department's report.
May I?
And Mrs. Evers, even if we were able to find some of the original evidence, find the living witnesses, show a jury a transcript from the original trial so they can hear those that have passed away, well, we still have the slight problem of the constitutional guarantee of a speedy trial. I'm sure you can agree that there's nothing to speedy about 25 years. The debate over this constitutional issue will overshadow any chance we have of justice.
I just want things to be right with justice. I opened the door and saw Medgar lying in a pool of blood, pulling himself across the carport towards the door. His keys were still clutched in his hands. The children had gotten to the door by that time, and they were crying, "Daddy, get up, get up." We've been waiting for justice for so long, and not just my family needs it, the state of Mississippi does too. Please keep digging and trying.
We will.
Many were against reopening the debate, but in 1992, the Mississippi Supreme Court allowed the proceedings.
Ah, Mr. Mitchell, I'd like to thank you for your writing. It got me into this case.
No one wants this case being brought up again. I got a number of hate calls from people who urged me to stop writing about the dead and me.
We knew this wasn't going to be easy.
I understand where people are coming from when they are saying this is no speedy trial.
But that's no excuse to let a guilty man get away with murder. It's never too late to try and go back and fix an old failure and help our justice system succeed. Hello?
Hey, Bobby, it's Jack Ames. Are you still looking into reopening about the Evers assassination?
Yes, I am.
Well, I've been doing some research on it, and I was reading this book, Clandestine. It's about Delmer Dennis and his experiences as an informant in the KKK. There's one short paragraph on page 38 that might just interest you. I have it right here. Once, at a training session, Dennis and other Klansmen allegedly heard Byron Della Beckwith speak. The accused killer of Jackson, NAACP officer Medgar Evers, is reported to have fully admitted his guilt in that crime. It reads,
Killing that nigger give me no more inner discomfort than our wives endure when they give birth to our children. We ask them to do that for us. We should do it just as much. So let's get in there and kill those enemies, including the president, from the top down.
It now seemed like there was enough evidence to reopen the case, and it became a media circus. Beckwith saw it as a way to cash in and force people to listen to what he had to say.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, from the evidence in this case, you will see what it is about, and likewise, what it's not about. It's not about politics. It's not about whether this defendant can get a fair trial. It's not about the pluses and minuses of people's opinions in the civil rights movement, and it's not about a civil rights case that just coincidentally involves a murder.
What do you think of people wanting you to come back and be tried a third time about the Evers case down there in Jackson?
I think it's a damn fool thing to do.
Many debate that the 30-year time span infringes on your rights to a speedy trial. What do you think about them trying you again?
Well, I say it's gonna make me sell a lot of my books. You see, all this publicity you're all eager to give me nationally, I'm gonna cash in on that.
It's about a man whose life was snuffed out on June the 12th of 1963. Medgar Evers was shot and killed by a bullet that tore through his body. That bullet was aimed out of hatred, fired out of prejudice, and shot by a coward in an ambush at night.
I don't consider any other race, color, or creed as Christian, except white Caucasians who profess Christianity. All those other races, colors, and creed, they're all anti-Christ.
You have heard our undercover agent's account of Mr. Beckwith admitting to the murder of Medgar Evers.
There were a couple of taxi drivers down there, and they testified against me. It seems like somebody just beat the hell out of them for lying. One of them left the state, and the other one died, I think.
Concerning Mr. Evers, though.
Mr. Evers?
I would like to draw your attention to Exhibit A, the gun, registered to Mr. Beckwith, and found to have been the tool that killed Medgar Evers.
Mr. Beckwith, what would be a reason that would justify killing Medgar Evers in your mind?
I know what you're gonna say. Why would I kill Medgar Evers? I didn't kill Medgar Evers, but he showed that. And he ain't coming back. But if he was killed in defense of the preservation of this white Christian republic, that's not murder. That's self-defense. And when Medgar Evers was slain, a severe blow was struck to the NAACP.
Well, what should be the consequence for whomever did kill Medgar Evers?
Just do whatever the laws say you can do, if you're big enough to do it.
Mr. DeLauder, are you ready for your closing statement?
Ladies and gentlemen, from the evidence in this case, and the law you have sworn to apply, it cannot be but one way if justice is truly going to be done. So I ask you, find this defendant guilty. Hold him accountable, simply because it is just, it is right, and the Lord knows it is just time. He has danced to the music for 30 years. Don't you think it's time he paid the piper? Is it ever too late to do the right thing? For the sake of justice, and for the hope of us as a civilized society, I sincerely hope and pray that it is not.
When the verdict is read, there will be no emotional outbursts. Bring the jury in. Defendant, rise and face the jury. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
Yes, we have, Your Honor. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty as charged.
In the racial picture, things will never be as they once were. History has reached a turning point here and over the world. Medgar Evers, 1963.
Finally, after 30 years, Byron Beckwith would be held accountable for his horrible crime. Because of this, 22 similar cases have followed in suit.
And it never would have happened had people not been willing to reopen the debate.
Justice should never be cast aside because of a timeline.
There is no excuse to let such a terrible failure of the justice system go unfixed.
It is never too late to fix a former failure. The consequences of not reopening the debate in Mississippi would have left a horrible wound unhealed.
Instead, people like Merle Evers, Bobby DeLauder, and Jerry Mitchell persevered on and successfully showed the world
That hatred and racism would no longer rule the day.
It is
never too late.